So, Jim, Fife rents soar from £715 per calendar month to £1,053 since 2016.
No surprise, really. Cost of living.
Yep.
It's like you could argue their case straight away, saying that it's the cost of, it's terrible that all the rents are going up. It's like, well, wait a minute, mortgage rates have gone up,
Yep.
utility costs, all these contractor costs have gone up because they've had to put their prices
Material
up.
costs, yeah.
Everybody's prices have had to go up as a result of that. Therefore, if they're having to put their prices up, what are we meant to do? Sit and do nothing. It's like, we just got to suck it up as landlords.
No. And funnily enough, it's like, and that seems to be the expectation where everything else is increasing in price. Inflation.
Hey, I'm driving about in a Ferrari. It's like I'm driving about in Ferraris and Lamborghinis. I'm having a great time. It's like all the rest of it. I'm living off all my tenants' money. It's like that is more further from the truth than ever in this day and age. It is the regulation. Now, it's in this article anyway, so you can click on the link on this article and it will tell you everything you need to know about what we're talking about here, because we thought we'd put a full article together about the rent soaring. The reality is, though, if you look way back to 2006 and 2005, and you compare rents now to what it was then, it's not that much of an increase as opposed to what it was in 2016. It's actually a steady increase.
If you've been around in the industry long enough, you'll know that, and you'll have seen that change. Today we're going to go back in terms of the stats that we've got to 2016, but like you say, Jim, you push that right back to 2006, 2007, it creates an even more interesting picture. But we're going to delve in.
When it says, and we'll just briefly summarise this, because everybody can read this article anyway, and it's quite interesting. It says that the Fife rental sector has gone up, and the rent has gone up 47.4%. But if your rent's gone up from £1 to £2, it's gone up 100%, isn't it? So it's all semantics, and it's all the way you present it. Ever heard the phrase lies, damn lies, and statistics? Yeah. I'm a statistician. Yes, I am a statistician, previously an accountant as well. And I can make everything look exactly how you want it to look. So, yes, the data actually says that, but it'd be interesting to look at other things as well about wages and rents. So what about wages and rents, Richard?
Yeah, so wages and rents, and there's a surprisingly similar trajectory with these. So if you're looking nationally, what's particularly interesting in how the rental growth has aligned with the wage growth over the same period since 2016, the average UK salary has increased from £28,195 to £37,430. Now, that's a rise of 32.75%. So during that time, the average UK private rental property, a rent on a property, has increased by 33.1%.
There you go, Like for like.
Yeah. So that correlation tells us that there is something really important. And
but listen to this, Richard. Listen to this. The rise in the average salary, when you look at it at a third more, is a greater rise than the rent at a third more. Because the rent's a smaller number, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like somebody saying, "Well, I got a 10% rise," and they went, "Oh, right, you got a 10% rise. I only got 5%. All right, but the boy on 5% on 100,000 a year, so he's getting $5,000. The boy on 10% rise is on 10 grand a year, so he's getting £1,000 extra." See, the way it's presented.
The way you present it,
There's the wages have significantly gone up, and I could hear people shouting out just now and saying, "But what about all the other costs?" I couldn't give a toss about all the other costs. It's like it's got nothing to do with me at all. It's all I have to do as a landlord is I have to keep up and make sure that I have an obligation to the tenant and make sure the property is looked after and wind and watertight and safe for habitation. And this is the thing that I've got to look at. I can't think about anything else other than that. That is the one track that I've got as a landlord to look after the property on behalf of the tenant. So when the government comes along and says, you've got to do this, you've got to do electricity certificates, we're going to up the standard for electricity safety. It's like, I've honestly, I don't think in all the time I've been a landlord in the 30 years, I've ever heard a case where somebody has been electrocuted in their property.
No.
And yet we've got all these standards about having standards for electrical safety. We've got all the standards about having gas safety standards. By the way, all the gas deaths are council houses, not private rented sector. And this is the thing that we keep getting vilified for as a result of it. So this correlation, I mean, rents and rising wildly out of step, and the tenants can't broadly afford, and all the rest of it. It's not been driven by greed and optimism, but by the limits of affordability. It's most tenants are paying for what they can pay, and landlords are charging what the market will bear to cover the increasing costs they have for regulation, for improvements, and for finance costs as well. We're not in the habit of doing this for nothing, by the way, but believe it or not, there's a lot of landlords out there doing this for nothing, on the fact that they hopefully might get the appreciation in the property value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what shocks me the most out of this. And yet, they choose to invest their good hard-earned money instead of a pension. They choose to invest it in property. And yet, the people like the Scottish Government and the MSPs and the MPs in Westminster choose to invest their income in a pension. And the pension tends to invest, and they do, because I've checked, they invest in bar industries. They invest in Diageo, drinks, smoking, vaping. They invest in Betfair, betting. They invest in everything that's addictive.
I was just going to say people's addictions, yeah.
Healthcare. They invest in pharmaceuticals as well with their pension, the MPs. So they're investing in healthcare, but they're investing in healthcare. Aye, but they're taking advantage of people's illnesses by profiting off of these people. So they're profiting off people with gambling addictions, alcoholism, smoking addictions, cancer, pharmaceuticals, their illnesses, they're profiting off of that. So you're saying a landlord who puts a roof over somebody's head because they can't afford to buy their own house, not because of our fault, because of lack of affordability and lack of supply. Affordability is their fault because they don't have the income to match it, and the supply has a lot to do with the government and their policy on housing, which is nil, by the way. Yeah. That isn't okay. That's nil. I'll just say it's pathetic. What have you got to say for yourself, Paul McLennan, Scottish Housing Minister? Yeah, I thought so. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Do you know? And while we talk about all this, and some people might think, it's not really it's kind of a small comfort to someone who's struggling with their bills and things as well. But we need to look at it and think of the broader economic context of it all. And rent rises are, in effect, following the same path as wages and inflation. So, I mean, if one's going up, the other should obviously follow suit. Rents in Fife have risen 47.4%, or if we put it in monetary terms, £338 per calendar month, from £715 up to, in 2016, up to £1,053 in 2025. Now, when you look at that from 2016 to now, that is a significant shift in just under a decade. Yet, to look at things and let it get a wee bit more interesting, if you break it down by the growth each year, and that's the growth in Fife only, and that's KY1 to KY12 and 14, KY14 and KY16 as well. It is quite linear. And we've got...
Who's getting these rents, Richard? Because I'm not getting these rents.
My
average rent is £550.
Yeah,
I'm less than what it was for people in 2016.
And I think because it brings in all these statistics and makes up this kind of average, but in the grand scheme of things, not everyone's charging these levels of rent.
Of course they're not. Somebody came onto the Kirkcaldy Connected page the other day and put on 4 different things and going, rents are out of control, 2-bedroom flats in Kirkcaldy are like £750. It's like, wait a minute, I've got loads of 2-bedroom flats in Kirkcaldy I own myself, and none of them are over £550. Some of them maybe are beginning to get over, but just like 600 quid. It's like, you're telling me they're out of control. I think they're needing to be out of control for me to be able to afford to look after this.
Yeah, I've seen that post, and it was comparing Kirkcaldy and Edinburgh prices. But I think that some people in the comments, and I tend not to join in because you just end up getting. But I think
it's a lot to do with it's easy to kick a landlord, it's easy to vilify a landlord, it's easy to pick on a landlord because they're in the minority. It's easy to hate a landlord because it's like, it's like, hey, nobody goes on about the bank making profits all the time. Nobody vilifies the bank because like that, and yet the bank is the one that's financing the landlord. They're the one that's putting the interest rate up. So let's talk about the bank and blame the bank for a change. The bank's put my money up. Oh, can I get rent free this month? Well, let me ask the bank if I can get my mortgage for free this month.
Can I get a break on my payments?
Bank of Scotland, can I get my mortgage free this month?
No.
What's that? Off. What was the first word? It's like, oh, right, okay, aye. We'll no mention that on air then. That's effectively what they would say, wouldn't it be? So you got a graph up. Chuck the graph up and show people how it's moved up.
So hopefully you can all see that quite clear, and it's quite a simple graph. You've got obviously the rent amount up the left-hand side and the year along the bottom there. Now, to start off with, 2016, that dark red colour, £715 per calendar month. Okay, we jump the next year into 2017, £693 per calendar month. So it's come down a lot. Come down a lot.
Hey, I never heard anybody going on and going, oh, that's brilliant. See these private landlords in 2017 saying that they were fantastic. Their average rent has gone down. I never heard that either. Did I? I maybe missed that. Maybe that soundbite somewhere. Maybe the housing minister was out there, and the Scottish housing minister congratulating private landlords saying, I see your average rent's come down for 2017. No.
But there was no mention of that at all. No. But you can see that there, 2016, 2017, and then it starts to obviously then pick up. 2018, it goes up to £725. 2019, it's 747. And then 2020, probably just before COVID and things, obviously we head into 2020, £777. Then 2021, 798. And then we start to see, obviously, post COVID and all the lockdowns and things. Then we started going to 2021, 798, 2022 is 866. 2023, we've got £996. Last year in 2024, we had £1,065. And this year, it's come back down just slightly at £1,053. Now, that's an average, like I say, across...
Hold it! It's gone down from 2024 to 2025. I am sure I've got a letter in the post. And I'm sure it's got the Scottish Government name on it. It could be the housing minister congratulating me because the average rent's come down in 2025. I'm sure. Oh, it must be. It definitely must be. Oh, it's no. I'm still waiting, Paul McLennan. Oh, I'm actually still waiting, Patrick Harvey as well. Where's your congratulations? You were the Minister for Tenants. Average rent has come down from 2024 to 2025. Where's your congratulations, Patrick Harvey? Yeah, I'll no hold my breath. Definitely. And that's the thing. That's what I don't understand. But here is the kicker, right? All this time, we've actually never mentioned about inflation. Inflation in that time that we've talked about has been 35.2%, which means in real terms, rents have actually gone up over that period of time, which is about 10 years, by 12.2%.
That's less than half.
Mental, eh? Absolutely mental. If Fife rents had risen, if Fife rents had risen by inflation, they would be £966 instead of £1,053. That is not much. See how most landlords are counting on the appreciation of the property value rather than actually the rental value. Because in that time as well, in 2016 to 2025, interest rates have gone up. We've not even taken that into account. Cost of living has gone up. Your contractors have gone up. They used to be £30 an hour. Now they're £60 an hour.
Yeah,
they've gone up 100%. Some of them. Yet nobody bats an eyelid about that. Nobody says, "Oh, we'll need to help the private landlords out. We'll need to help." No. It's like, no, we'll vilify and we'll castigate private landlords for what they've done.
So that means then if rents in Fife had risen by inflation standards, then
they've gone 966 to 1053.
Yeah,
it's absolutely crazy. So what does it mean for Fife tenants and landlords? Just briefly.
Yeah. So for Fife renters, obviously the growth in rents means that they need to kind of adjust in their expectations and move into more affordable areas, possibly simply have less disposable income at the end of the month. And with the high cost of living and rent rises, it's understandably.
You've nailed it. You've nailed it.
Understandably,
you've nailed it. Stop feeling entitled.
Mm-hmm.
I deserve a house. Sorry, why do you deserve a house? It's like, why? Because I'm here. It's like, well, why? Did you educate yourself to the higher standard? No. Did you do anything? No. Did you do that? No, you didn't. You didn't do anything. There's an expectation in society almost nowadays that they expect to get something for nothing.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that. You want something, you got to put a lot of it. But you also have, you nailed it there when you says you have to adjust your expectations.
Yeah.
Move to a more affordable area. I had somebody say, I can't afford to live in St Andrews. What do? I'm a cleaner. Do what I do. Live 16 miles outside St Andrews. Because I can't afford to live in St Andrews either. And I own companies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about adjusting your expectations and also maybe have a bit more less disposable income if that's the case. Instead of having, I hate to say it, Richard, it's like, this is the bugbear. This is what most people think, but I'm going to say it. Instead of having your cigarettes, your vapes, your alcohol, all these different things, it's like, get rid of all that stuff and get your priorities right.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
I don't have.
I think if you're in a position where, and a lot of people are like making ends meet and paying. I think paying your rent or your mortgage and things should be right up there, well above.
Of course, it should
be funding an addiction like smoking and drinking.
You've got a contractual obligation to do something with someone else to pay for that, and it's like, all right, okay, everything else takes precedent over that. That's how some people think. It's like, no, it doesn't. The world doesn't work like that. If you're not going to be able to afford something, you cut your cloth to suit your purpose or whatever it was. I can't remember what the phrase used to be, but it's about cutting your cloth to suit what fits you, not what you think you can have. This is the advent of credit. This is the advent of Instagram, and it makes all these problematic issues come up because people compare themselves to other people and go, "Why am I no like them?" That's what it is. Yeah, Jack actually says it.
Yeah. Living above your means.
People are living above their means. They're needing to take a reality check and live within their means or just below their means. We could get into a whole different story about this, Jack. Thanks for saying that, but we can get on a wealth creation show after this.
Yeah, I know.
By the way, wealth creation show, 12:30 every Monday. Wealth creation show. We might actually talk about that, Jack.
We could go into that a lot more detail. But if we double back and we talk about, obviously, it is worth recognising that a significant proportion of those in rental markets, they fall into that lower quartile of income demographic. And we're not stereotyping anybody. This is just what the facts and the stats show. And with many, and not all, tenants working in roles that pay the minimum wage. But encouragingly as well, the national minimum wage has sustainably increased over the past decade. And it's went up. Yeah, it's went up from £6.70 an hour in 2016, and we're up to now, just in April 2025, to £12.21, which is.
So let me get this right. Normal people's wages have gone up by 32%.
Yeah.
National minimum wage has gone up by 82%.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a big uplift. And for many renters, this uplift in wages has played a vital role in helping them offset their they're rising housing costs, particularly for those in that lower quartile, and of that income distribution.
All you're doing is, Richard, all we're doing here, and people could read this article, so we don't need to go into all the detail.
I'm trying
all we're doing here, the government's doing here, is they're taking the responsibility of the welfare state system and they're pushing it onto companies by saying, you have to pay more salaries. So we can get away with our responsibility for doing that. But because they're doing that, all they're doing is pushing up the prices of everything, because these salaries have to be recouped through costs for running the business. So therefore, they have to put the prices up for something. Therefore, the price of something goes up. Therefore, the minimum wage doesn't really keep up with the prices going up to a degree. And it all just gets messy. But this is the government's way of passing on the responsibility of the welfare system. The welfare system accounts for something like, I'm not sure if it's true or no, but it's something like 42% of the budget is welfare. It's like,
really? That's quite a lot.
Why do you think they want rid of pensions? The responsibility for pensions. This is why state pension will disappear. And well, I was going to say not in my lifetime, but probably will. I've got another 60 years to go at this. So I'll be able to tell you. Hopefully,
I don't imagine I'll be drawing a state
I'll be able to
pension.
tell people if the state pension has been done away with in all these years to come. Unfortunately, some of you will not be here, but I'll certainly be here at that time. But that's the point. Undoubtedly, it'll improve the resilience of working households, and especially the most that would like to rent, I would say, because people that tend to rent tend to be in the lower quartile, as you've said there.
Yeah.
Landlords are really missing on the conversation, and the rent increasing and pressure on landlords has been during since that same period as well. A lot of landlords have never ever increased their rents at all. We've never. I never genuinely increased my rents at all, except between when tenancies changed over, I decided, yeah, okay, I'll probably increase the rents. But I never in my whole time as a landlord over the last 30 years had increased my rents until Patrick Harvey says you can increase your rents. And I went, I can increase my rents. Absolutely. You can increase your rents by 3% every single year minimum if you'd like. Okay, I'll increase my rents when people are in situ. So a lot of this rent increase is actually a lot to do with Patrick Harvey and the Greens actually trying to introduce rent controls. That's what's caused it. Yeah. Rent controls. Rent controls have left landlords with no other option but to increase their rents from the minimum that they were letting the tenant away with, because they were okay with that return on investment, to the point that what happens if all the costs go up like they did after the pandemic, and then I'm left where I can't increase my rents because rent controls are in place. This is why landlords now are taking the action and actually deliberately increasing their rents, whether they want to or not. And I'm telling them to do it. To be honest, I'm going to a meeting tonight to teach people about wealth strategies at the Scottish Property Podcast in Edinburgh. And I will be blatantly telling all these landlords, push your rents up now, because when rent controls come in, you've got no hope if rent controls come in and they put them in place. Where have you got to go then? You're forced out the door to sell. Well, everybody's been exempted that are going to be built to rent. So the banks who are doing build to rent and the investment houses that are doing new build to rent are going to be exempt. The people that are actually charging the highest rents are going to be exempt from the rent controls, who are meant to protect the tenants from the highest rents. Does everybody get that? Is that what we call an oxymoron?
I believe it might be, actually, yeah.
Yeah. The tenant, the people building the new build properties to rent are going to be charging some of the highest rents, but rent controls that they're going to be exempt from, the rent controls legislation, has been put in place to control rents for people that are paying too high rent.
That just seems nonsense.
Yeah, that definitely is an oxymoron, isn't it?
Yeah.
But who's the moron? Is it Paul McLennan, the housing minister, for not getting it?
Or is it his predecessor?
Is it Patrick Harvey? Who knows? Tune in next week.
But you're right, Jim. And I think landlords and their situation is all too often left out of the conversation. And you know, whether it's like the requirements and licensing, whether like England's got the Section 24, and you know, there's tax changes and interest rates and rises and things, and here in Fife, do you know that they're all facing kind of similar margins and things as well.
This shows the lunacy of some of it, right? Jack has actually, you know, probably just exemplified this a wee bit by saying rent controls only work in areas like London. Yeah, absolutely, and not needed in areas like Fife. You're absolutely right. But well, Jack, you went on to say that you've got new houses at 7 million in St Andrews. Shows the relativity of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But look at what I saw on BVI last night. 1.3 million on the British Virgin Islands. A 4-bedroom detached house for sale at Virgin Gorda, right across from Necker Island.
Does that mean you're moving, Jim?
With Richard Branson. I've got to say, I'm really tempted. But if you're getting something for 1.2 million at the British Virgin Islands, who the hell wants to live in St Andrews?
Yeah.
A 2-bedroom flat on the scores in St Andrews, 1 million. 4-bedroom house in British Virgin Islands, 1.2 million. Hello, McFly?
No-brainer.
Home?
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what people need to be aware of. By the way, this is also the same argument that you don't drive the millionaires out, because the millionaires could just move.
Mm-hmm.
They can. I hate to say it, but Trump actually said something the other day, which was actually the first sentence I've ever heard him say, was like, no, you don't want to tax the millionaires too much, because then what they used to do is they just move to a different state. Mm-hmm. Now what they're doing is they just move to a different country entirely.
Yeah.
Now, the key here is, you've got to remember, if I move to a different country, my income is still taxed in Britain, even though I'm in a different country. So if I move to BVI, my income in Britain gets taxed in Britain.
Yeah.
But what you don't realise is the income that I then get in my pocket gets spent in BVI.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't go back into Britain.
Back into this economy. Yeah.
It doesn't get reinvested back into Britain. And that's why you don't want to drive millionaires out of Britain. For that very reason. Keir Starmer, are you listening? Rachel Reeves, are you listening? No, they probably aren't. Need a coherent strategy for encouraging investment into Britain, not driving it out. Okay, so why does this matter for tenants and landlords? Come on, tell me all about that then, Richard.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, we've gone through all these stats and data and things, and people might be thinking, so what do we do with all this kind of data, and what, like, all these rent increases over the years? And with Fife Landlords, it's all about helping you understand, you know, the tenants' economic pressures, while always reinforcing the need for, you know, fair and sustainable returns on your buy-to-let investments as well. Do you know, there's a balance there, and you could find that balance for both to be happy. And on the tenant side, it's about, you know, providing that transparency and that reassurance to your tenant as well, and showing them that the Fife rent levels and things haven't really skyrocketed like a lot of people think. And a lot of people think in Fife here that they've skyrocketed in isolation and things, but they've not. And they are more in line with the broader financial trends across the country.
It's popular to kick a landlord, isn't it, though?
Yeah.
That's the point out of this. And that's why nobody wants to hear this story. Nobody wants to hear rents are fair in comparison to the salaries that have increased at the same rate. In comparison to the inflation that has increased at the same rate as well. In comparison to the minimum wage has increased at way beyond the same rate, 82% in that time as well. Now, it's not an argument about whether that's fair or right or wrong about minimum wage and all the rest of it and where we should be going with that. It's an argument about it's fair overall. A landlord has to run a house as a business. And yes, you can argue all you want about the fact that, people shouldn't own more than one house. You could argue that.
You could.
But can you afford to buy your house? No.
Well, you need to rent then.
Oh, sorry, you want it for nothing. That's what it was. You wanted the house for nothing. It's like, some people actually believe that. They should, honestly, they go about their wee groups and they go, we should take all these houses back and we should have a house each for nothing. It's like, you would still lose the house. Because the reason that you don't have the house in the first place is the way you act day to day and the way you handle your money. That's why you don't have a house. It's got nothing to do with the fact that they're out of reach. It's the fact that the way you handle your finances. Again, wealth creation.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be popular for the summer. But I'll say it how it is. I'll say it how it is. It's like, 50% of people will say, this guy knows exactly what he's talking. Other 50% are going, this guy's talking shite. That's it. Looking ahead, what could influence Fife and the Fife rents next? What could influence that overall? Look at I'm even going on about like Trump. Flipping heck. It was great. It was great. It was the best ever. We were the best rental increase ever. It's like flipping heck, yeah.
Right, let's take a quick look ahead and see what could
I've got a wig.
Let's see what could influence rents next. And the key driver behind rent increases, and we've discussed it already, is wages. And when minimum wage rises faster than the inflation, it naturally expands affordability for tenants. I did not expect that. I never heard you say wig when you went into it. That's not what I thought you were going to do. Jeez,
that's my BG's wig. That was for Glastonbury. That was for Glastonbury last year. It was maybe the year before. It was Barry Gibb was turning up, and we were all encouraged to get wigs to look like BG's in the crowd. Oh dear.
Oh, sorry, I have to find my place again. Wait a minute.
Hey, just summarise. The Bank of England.
I was just talking about wages. This
would be quite interesting to see, Richard, if the Bank of England will actually decrease interest rates tomorrow. It doesn't mean to say necessarily people like me will benefit from that, because mine are all fixed rate 5-year deals. I don't want to take a risk with a house, because if it doesn't get reduced, then banks will now factor in that it's not getting reduced, and therefore, if I then try to fix again, interest rates will go up as a result in the fixed rate. So I would rather take the fixed rate and have certainty, so I can run the tenancies properly and reinvest in the stock properly to look after the tenant that's in the property. That's the reason why that I take fixed rates. So whether they go up or down is irrespective to me. I have hedged, though. I have definitely hedged here. And what I mean is I've protected the downside. If interest rates drop dramatically, I have a buyout clause where I can buy out into a better deal. Just in case I can get a better deal. But for in terms of that, I don't, I'm not interested after that. It's an uncertain landscape. Anybody that's listening, you could just click on the link in the post anyway and actually read this article. But it's really interesting, and it recognises the dual pressures on the tenants and the landlords overall, and arming ourselves with the insight of the insight rather than actually outrage. Base your decisions on facts. Get the facts right before you kick off about something. Make sure you understand what the increases are and how much it's increased and the whole picture, rather than what most of these individual tenant bodies, and I would call them, they represent tenants, just pick out one wee soundbite and go, that's ridiculous, it's gone up this. It's like, okay, but inflation's gone up more. Aye, but we're not interested in that. The rents has gone up. Aye, but inflation's gone up more. But we're still not interested in that. And that's how most of these tenant bodies go at things all the time.
And that's what's up.
It's shelter. Shelter's the worst for it. Definitely, I would say. So that's what we've got to say. Read the article, everybody. Definitely, you'll get more insight into this about rents and why they're soaring and all the rest of it. And until next time, it's bye-bye from us. Lisa, aka Lisa, from compared to the USA.
Lisa's in the US.
Still lower than the US, UK rent still lower than the US, but I do understand that there are other expensive activities that are not included in UK rent, such as the heat and the water, garbage collections. That's the USA.
Council tax,
Aye. And the US actually includes in theirs, and we don't zone housing as for private renting, which they do in the US, which automatically increases the value when the rents go up, and we don't have that here. That doesn't happen like that. Okay, thanks very much for coming on.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Jim. And thanks for joining in. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in. And like Jim says, you could click on the article in the
article's really good.
The article is good. Right, guys, thanks. See you later.